right, so again, we are on the back side of today's level work. We're just going to practice a couple together, okay? So right now, well, all we're going to do is practice rewriting. You're not solving anything. You don't need your calculator. We're just going to rewrite it so it looks a little bit different. So let's rewrite 21 to the 2/3. You're not solving it. Don't tell me what it equals. All you're doing is rewriting it. Does anyone remember how to do that, Kip?
What's the
Cube, or sorry, the root?
Yeah, root. So you put the 3 on the outside of the root, the 21 in it, and then 2 is here.
Okay, good. So basically it's just saying it's 21 to the second power. This 3 is always the denominator. So that's just something that if you remember, the denominator is always the root, then everything else is just 21 squared. Great, perfect, that's it. Okay, that's how you rewrite it. The denominator of your fraction is always going to be on the outside. It's always your root. Okay, so try this one by yourself. Hopefully it should not be too difficult. It's exactly like the first one, just with different digits. Someone online, can you shout out what that would be?
Would it be 10 on like the outside part and then 7 to the 9?
Perfect. And that's it. So it would be the 10th root of 7 to the 9th. Great. Okay, let's make it a little bit more complicated then. Parentheses, -5 to the 3/4. Okay, so for this one, hopefully you know what number is the root number for the denominator. So it's the 4th root of -5 to the 3rd. So I'm missing something. What am I forgetting? Cooper? The parentheses. Because remember, parentheses make a huge difference when I'm talking about negatives. Like I really didn't need parentheses up here because they were positive. Negatives, I can write it like this. Some people write it like this, where your 5 is in parentheses like this. Some people also write it like this, where the parentheses like is outside of that square root symbol. It honestly does not matter. It's the same. So as long as you have parentheses, then we're good. Okay. Sam, will you mute yourself, please? Thank you. Okay, so notice how this next one, I'm not going to put parentheses, which makes my answer look different. So try this. What do you think that would look like? Because there's no parentheses there. Does anyone think they know what this one would look like? Good.
What is it? No solution.
No, because I can still rewrite it. I'm not solving it. So there would be a solution, but I just want to rewrite it. Cooper?
If you put the negative in front of the square root.
Yeah. So do you see how it's not a -5? It's 5 to the 3/4 and then just negative. So it's like doing 5 to the 3 radical 4. So just rewrite it like this. And then, because there's no parentheses, and then you just stick a negative. So do you guys see the difference between these two? If it was -5 in parentheses, the negative stays with the 5. But since the negative on the second one is not in parentheses, you just do 5 to the 3/4, rewrite it, and then negative, boom, just stick it on the outside, just like how you would kind of solve it. Okay. Okay. So let's rewrite a couple more then. Now this time I'm going to give you like this way, and you have to write it this way. Okay. So let's say the 6th root of 10 to the 5th. So rewriting it would be something to the something power. All right, someone in person. What do we got? Jack.
10 to the 5, 6.
Yeah, perfect. It's 10 to the 5. Remember, the root is always your denominator. Your root is always your denominator. Your root is always your denominator. Okay, what about this one then? The 3rd root of -7 to the 8th power. So the 3rd root of -7 to the 8th power. Someone online, do you think you know this one? Anyone online?
-7 to the 8/3.
8/3, good. Okay, so this is like 99% correct. You have to put parentheses. So the reason why you have to put parentheses is even though I don't see it in here, do you see how the negative goes with the 7? Because it's like next to the 7, it's not on the outside. So that's why you have to put parentheses. Okay. If the negative were on the outside, it would be like this situation, right? But the negative is on the inside with the 7, so you have to put parentheses. Remember, parentheses make a huge difference. Okay, this one is a tricky one. This is the last one we're going to rewrite. Square root 6. It seems simple enough, but it's actually probably the trickiest one because it doesn't give you as much obvious information. Jose, go. Yeah, 6 to the 1/2, right? You don't see any numbers, but you know, if you don't see numbers, if you don't see a radical number, there's always an imaginary 2. If you don't see an exponent number, it's always an imaginary 1. So it's 6 to the 1/2. Very good. Okay, now let's just review how to solve, because I feel like some of us yesterday, we were still kind of a little bit shaky with all like the positive, negative stuff. Like I know you know how to do the numbers because you're just typing it in your calculator, but like whether it's positive, negative, or just positive, or just negative, I feel like that's where it kind of confused you. Okay, so first of all, turn on your calculators. If you didn't grab one, then go grab one, please. 2nd plus 7, 1, 2. 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 Right? If ever your calculator does something weird, 2nd plus 7, 1, 2. Just start it off fresh. Okay, so remember how I type this in? I'm going to hit the 4 because it's the 4th root. And then I hit math. And then I want option 5 because I want that 4 to be where that little X is. So option 5. And now I have this tiny little baby 4 and then 625. So my calculator tells me it's 5, but I know that I still have to do some thinking because it could be positive, negative, it could be positive, it could be negative, it could be lots of things with the symbol. So someone online, what do we think? What type of 5 is this?
A positive or negative?
Thank you. The reason why this is positive, negative. So if you just wrote 5, it would be completely wrong, not even partial credit, okay? It would be, it's positive, negative, because if you have 4 numbers, 4 times 4 times 4 times 4, or sorry, 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 is 625, but also negative times a negative times a negative times a negative is also a positive 625. So remember, normally the trick is if this root is an even number, it's more normally going to be positive, negative. 99% of the time, if this is even, your answer is positive, negative. Okay, so let's try the next one then. Cube root of negative 512. So type that in your calculator so you can at least get the digit. Remember, negative is different than minus. Minus is on the side of your calculator. Negative is on the bottom of your calculator. Yes, negative is short and little and a little bit raised on your calculator. All right, someone in person. What do you think your final answer is? Grayson? -8. Just negative? Yes. So the reason why is because it's not positive 8. 8 times 8 times 8 doesn't equal a negative number. That's why it just has to be -8. That's your only answer. Okay. Okay, so let's do this one then. Cube root of 512. Okay, so I already know it's 8, right? Because I basically gave you the same answer or the same question, but maybe my symbol is different. Is it positive, -8? Is it just positive 8? Is it just -8? Owen. Right, it's just positive 8 this time. The reason why it's just positive 8 is because 8 times 8 times 8 is 512. But if I had negatives, 3 negatives don't make a positive, right? It has to be an even number of negatives. Okay, now I'm going to try to trick you a little bit because I'm writing it and making it a little bit more complicated. So type this in your calculator so you can at least get the digit. And then you have to decide, is it positive, negative? Is it positive? Is it negative? So 729 to the, guys, the symbol, the exponent symbol is right here. It's right underneath the clear. Okay, it looks like a little caret up. You're going up, and then alpha y equals 1, 6. Okay, so just don't forget alpha y equals. Luke, what do you think?
Plus or minus 3.
It is positive, -3, plus or minus 3. Perfect. Okay, so hopefully when you type this in, you got 3. But then you have to decide, oh, what about the symbol? So remember how we said the denominator is always your root. So this is the 6th root of 729 to the first. Oh, since it's even, I know that 99% of the time, if it's even, then it's going to be plus or minus, right? The only time that if this were even, it's not a plus or minus is if you had a negative number in here, because then it would just be no solution, right? No even amount of numbers would give you a negative answer. Okay, last one before we actually get into new territory. Negative 81 to the 1/2. Oh, good memory you have. Do you remember the answer? Yeah. All right, Kip, what's the answer? All right, but why?
Because it's and you can't square.
Okay, so because you can't square, right. So here's the thing. Remember, this is negative 81 square root because the 2 is your thing. So this is the 1% of the time where if you have an even number, it's not plus or minus. Two numbers multiplied together will never give you a negative answer. That's why you have no solution. There's no possible thing. Okay, this is the new stuff that I feel like once you get it, it actually is quite simple, but I think it's kind of hard for you to wrap your head around. Okay, x to the 10th, y to the 4th. Does anyone remember from yesterday's video notes what that actually equals? Read.
X5, Y2.
X to the 5, y2. Good. So what did you do to get that answer?
I divided both of them by 2.
You divided both of these by 2. So let me show you why that trick works. If you have x to the 10, do you see how I have 10 x's? So this square root, this imaginary square root tells me what two numbers, like I can cross out. So I have an x and x, so I write 1. XX, 1. XX, write 1. XX, write 1. XX, write 1. I have 5 groups of x's, that's why it's x to the 5th. And then I could say for my y's, I have 4 of them. Y, 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 Y. So take out 2, write 1. Take out 2, write 1. So in this case, then I would just have x to the 5, y to the 2nd. So really the trick is just divide by 2, divide by 2. Okay, so here's the last one I'm going to do with you then. The cube root, what about that then? A to the 6th, b to the 12. Does anyone online think they know what this one would be?
A to the 3rd, B to the 6th.
Close. Anyone else online?
A to the 2, B to the 4th.
A2, B4. Good. Okay, so why is it that's this way? If I have 6 A's, A. This time I'm taking out groups of 3, right? Because it's the cube root. It's no longer groups of 2 square root. It's groups of 3. So I'm taking out groups of how many are here. 1, 2, 3, write 1. 1, 2, 3, write 1. Now let's do B's. Oh, I have so many. Okay, so do you see how if I had 12 B's, I would have 4 groups of 3? Basically divide. 6 divided by 3, 12 divided by 3. And that's how I got that. A lot of people want to write their answer still with the square root symbol, and that's wrong. Don't leave the square root symbol in your answer, right? And the reason why is because by square rooting, you are dividing, so you don't need the square root symbol anymore. Okay, let's look at your level work. So this first section, it just says to rewrite. So you're not solving anything, just rewrite it. Like rewrite it like this, like with the actual square root symbol. So all you're doing is rewriting. Second one, you're rewriting again. So you're not solving anything. So you just really have to make sure you read the directions. You're just rewriting. Okay. When it says evaluate, are you solving? Yeah. Yes. So just don't forget your positive negatives. Okay. I'm going to do these with you because I feel like it's kind of hard. All right. So for this one, 2 to the 5/3 divided by 2 to the negative 4/3. So I don't want to solve both and then divide them because it just gets too complicated. Like that's just, I mean, you could, but then what if you get like a really random number or something? Grayson, what do you think? You don't add. You subtract, right? Because it's a division problem. Remember how we said the trick is when you're dividing, and it looks like you would add because it's like one right after the other. But when you're dividing, the trick is you actually subtract them. So my final answer is 2 to the something. So let's subtract. So just use your calculator. 5/3 minus -4/3, right? Because it's actually a -4/3 up there. So 5/3 minus -4/3 is, 3. So my answer is 2 to the 3rd. And that equals 8, or I could leave it as 2 to the 3rd. So you just kind of have to channel back on all of your tricks now that you used last week. All right, so same base. So what should I do with these exponents if it's a multiply problem? Owen? So this one is when you multiply, remember the trick is you have to add. So 1/2 plus 3/4, what does that equal? 5/4. So just leave it like that. Please don't write 1/16 to the 1 and 1/4. We no longer like mixed numbers, okay? So just leave it like this. Do you really have to put 1/16 in parentheses? No, because it's a positive number. But sometimes it just like people get confused because they're like, oh, like it's a fraction. So I just left it in parentheses because they did. But you really don't need parentheses. Okay. Next one, the z's. What should I do with those exponents? Add them, right? Good. Okay, so let's move on. A's, what should I do? Oh, okay, let's do this one then. So do you see how you have like an A and a 7A? Okay, so what should I do with my exponents of the A's? Subtract them. Okay, so let's subtract. What's -3/4 minus -1/12? Use your calculator. That's okay. 10/12. I don't.
No, it's 9.
9/12.
No, 10. It's used.
Hey guys, it's his birthday today, so when he comes in, can we sing happy birthday? Ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear
William.
William.
There we go.
Happy birthday to you. He's 20 years old today. Yay! Thank you for all you do. We appreciate you.
Thank you, gang. I'll see you guys Thursday, man.
Awesome.
You won't believe it.
Bye. Thank you. Okay.
It's -2/3.
-2/3. Okay. So a to the -2/3. And then you have this 7, which was, do you see how the 7 was it on top or bottom? Because it's dividing.
It's on the bottom.
It's on the bottom. So do you see how the 7, because like if I had written it this way, it'd be a to the -3/4 over 7a to the -1/12. The 7 was originally on the bottom, and it's not a negative exponent, so it stays on the bottom. So then would a to the -2/3 be on the top or the bottom, or how do I write that? It's on the bottom because it's a negative. And remember, if I'm flipping it, I drop the negative. Okay. Backside.
If you flip it to the bottom, you keep the negative.
No, if you flip it to the bottom, if you flip it, then you always, yeah. Okay, this one. So, remember when you have lots going on in your parentheses, it's to the first power. So you take this and you distribute. So you have y to the 3/2 times y to the 3/6. If I just multiply straight across, 1/3 times 3/2 is 3/6, which is 1/2. And then what do I do with 3/2 and 3/6? Add them. So simplify. What's 3/2 times or plus 3/6? You can use your calculator.
2.
Is it 2? Okay,
Yeah.
it's 2. Okay, so like this one, you would take the 9 and distribute it, but then you have times the square root of y. Whoa, that looks weird because here's like fractions, but then here's this. So can't I just take this and cross it out and rewrite it as something? So that's really y to the 1/2. So do you see how it's like easier to do now that I make it all look the same? Okay, all right, so for these, I'm not going to do with you. but maybe what you can do is like make it all look the same if you need to, and then you can combine them. Okay. Okay. What did you say? Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, your answers to your level work are on Schoology. Don't forget to do this one on the very bottom because we skipped it. Okay. I hope that you can do that yourself. All right. The answers are on Schoology. Please make sure that you double check it as you're doing it. Now, you have homework today, and your homework is just a worksheet. It's not video notes. I know you're so sad. It's this one. Okay. So it's kind of everything we've learned in the past 2 weeks combined, because if this were a normal school year, we would just be taking a test on 6-1 and 6-2 because it's just that huge, okay? But we're not. Tomorrow we have 2 Edgenuity quizzes though, okay? So this is for homework. The answers are not in Schoology, but we will go over them tomorrow. So just make sure you have them submitted before class starts, okay? It is always a completion grade. The only things that aren't completion grades would be if you have like random Schoology assignments, which is like once every couple of chapters, or if you have like an Edgenuity quiz or an Edgenuity